Hey guys, it's Pyken with another mini guide for Pyke. This time it's a little bit more in depth. I'll include runes, summer spells, and also the items. So getting right into it, you want to go Hella Blades, Cheap Shot, Zombie Ward, and Treasure Hunter. This I recommend going every game. You could change Treasure Hunter for Relentless, but I recommend going Treasure Hunter. That's just my preference. Um, but either one works. And then for your secondaries, I have two options that I go. One is resolve with bone plating and unflinching. This is into like assassins or people who can like burst you, and then for the tenacity, but mainly for the bone plating if you're going resolve. If you go this page, it's usually into a neutral or a losing matchup bot lane. And then for the second option, you can go inspiration, secondary. Basically same thing for your domination, and then for your secondaries, you want to go magical footwear and biscuit delivery. This uh, this is a more greedy secondary, but it's pretty consistent and it's good into winning matchups. So the idea behind this is free boots. You're not roaming. You're in a winning matchup. You want to stay bot lane to snowball, right? So you'll get boots whenever, probably early since you're spam killing bot lane. And then it'll yeah, save you 300 gold. It'll also give bonus movement speed, like 10 extra. I think, yeah, 10 extra movement speed. And then biscuits is really nice because the idea behind this is you you only start off with one potion instead of two, and then you don't even need to buy refillables sometimes if you don't need it, if you have like enough biscuits left. It's also pretty nice for the bonus max mana, and then it can be pretty good in fights for double potion, like you pop a potion and you pop a cookie and it can save your life. Then for your you want to run adaptive, double adaptive, and armor. 9 out of 10 games, but if you're into like heavy AP, like Nami Kog'Maw bot lane for example, you can run MR. And in rare scenarios, you can run armor and MR, but you always want one adaptive. So that's pretty much what you run for your runes. And then for your spells. Right now I'm running three different spells mainly. So always go flash. Flash is essential for pipe combos. I don't recommend not going flash, but uh, and then the other three options is obviously ignite. Ignite's standard. You get them low, you counter them with heal early. You have like early kill pressure of this. And go exhaust into like losing matchups, into like I don't know, Draven, Samira, things like that. If you want to like provide some utility for your ADC, so to get one shot into Hecarim maybe, and then cleanse. I've been going cleanse a lot lately. It's actually pretty OP. If your ADC isn't running it, you should go cleanse into like champions like Thresh mainly, into like Lux. Basically hard CC that you can get hit pretty often with. Uh, in the lane. You don't want to go cleanse if it's like a Lissandra mid, for example, and there's like no CC bot lane, then it has zero value, right? You can also use it to get rid of ignite and stuff like that. But yeah, these are the three main summer spells for Pyke right now, in my opinion. Then lastly, you have the items. So I kind of this is kind of like expanded from last patch. I experimented with some more options, but it's pretty much the same concept. So level one, as soon as you get into the game, you have to decide your starting items. You want to go stealth ward if for example you're in a losing lane and you need to ward bot brush in case they're cheesing. You can also hold on to this into like a popular level 2 jungle ganker. Like Jarvan, for example, you can ward a Tribush. This way, you get notified if they're level 2 chasing you. You can also start Stealth Ward if you want to ward their enemy buff, but that's if they don't have any CC or anything, and you can freely ward their buff. And then Red Trinket or Oracle Lens if you're choosing and you don't need a ward for their level 2 jungle gank. This is used to sweep the lane brushes, so you can choose. It's 2 stacks now, so you'll get another stack like almost immediately after. And then this is what's different. You can actually start 1 potion or 2 potion depending on the matchup. If you're planning to choose, usually just go 1 potion and sickle. If you're not, probably 2 potions, but if they're not really poke heavy and you're going shoulder guard, for example, you just go 1 potion. Shoulder guard gives the health regen, so you basically save 50 gold, right? Also, if you're running the inspiration secondary, always just go 1 potion. You can even greed for 0 potion, but that's not recommended. And then I already went over this, but you want to go sickle if you're choosing most of the time. So if you're choosing 9 out of 10 times you want to go sickle for the 1 extra AD, it gives you your quest completion faster, like 2x. You get gold a lot more easily, and then gives mana regen. And then it does give less AD later on, so keep that in mind. But yeah, it gives 1 extra AD level 1. And then shoulder guard for 1 less AD, and then more AD later on. You get health regen. You can get level 2 prior with this. So if you're cheesing, but it's kind of like you're still trying to fight for level 2, you can go shoulder guard still. Or into losing or neutral matchups to help your ADC with CSing. And then for your core items, you want to go Eclipse every single game. Eclipse will be... I personally think Eclipse is just better than Yomu's and Duskblade. But I guess that's like a preference thing. But if you're watching this video, just try Eclipse if you haven't. With this build, it's centered around Eclipse. So yeah, go Eclipse first item. And then you want to buy boots. If you have magical footwear, you don't need to worry about this. If you're really rich on your first base and you can just afford Serrated Dirk, you can just go Serrated Dirk. If you need, if you base on 300 gold, you can just buy cloth armor. If you base into AP bot lane like Swain, Veigar or some shit, and you need MR or Karthus, and you have enough for no magic mantle, you can buy this. Or if you base and you only have enough for longswords, you just buy longswords, right? Longswords over defensive items usually, unless you're planning to rush tier 2 boots like tabbies, or tier 2 defensive boots like tabbies or mercs. Then speaking of the tier 2 boots, just briefly go over these. You want to upgrade these usually as soon as possible. I feel like this meta is really speed oriented. Everyone's so fast, you need to catch up with them now. You match their tempo and movement speed. Tier 2 boots is really OP for that. If you can afford Dirk early, I normally go Dirk over tier 2 boots, but if not, and you want to get like a defensive tier 2 boots, or one of these as well, it's viable. So tabbies into like heavy on hit champions like Draven or Samira that usually rush like lethality, or all AD comps, or just a fed ADC or fed on hit. And then mercs into if you need tenacity, but you don't want to go mercs if you have cleanse, so keep that in mind. Since you have cleanse, you don't need mercs. You don't really want to go mercs for the MR, but it does give a little bit of MR, mainly for the tenacity. Ionian boots to snowball, you want to buy this if your summoner cooldowns are almost coming up. You don't really want to buy Ionians if you just use your summoners, since it really doesn't give any value. This for snowballing, ability haste, and lower summoners, right? Swifties if you can't afford any other boots and you have just enough. It's also good for slow rest, and it gives consistent movement speed during like fights, right? Unlike Mobius. Mobius is like out of combat movement speed. So Mobius if you want to roam, if you're ditching your lane basically. And then Berserkers, you really don't want to go this unless it's super late game and you want a backdoor. You sell your boots for Berserkers. So back to the build path. It should have been this order. That's whatever. So refillables, if you need the potion, you can sell your pots if you're like at 120 gold for refillables. Otherwise, you don't really need it unless you need potions. But usually you want refillables if you're staying in lane and you're getting traded, you're fighting consistently. Otherwise, you don't really need it. If you have like a lot of biscuits, you're not trading a lot, you're just chilling, you're better off buying something else or saving your gold. So for control wards you want to buy once you have Oracles. If you have stealth ward, you really don't need control ward. It's kind of overkill. But control ward is good for, stealth champions like Evelyn, for example. You can reveal them. It can also be used to ward for ganks. It can also be used to deny vision, either in lane or river or whatever. Control wards is nice, but you don't want to buy too much of this now. You want to be really gold efficient with Pyke. Hex Drinker, if they have a lot of magic damage and you don't want to get bursted. Negatron Cloak actually gives more MR, so Hex Drinker is 35 MR. Negatron Cloak is cheaper and also gives more MR. But you only want to go Negatron Cloak if you can't afford Hex Drinker and you need MR. Or if you're stacking MR, you can go Hex Drinker into Negatron Cloak. Then Chain Vest, if you're not going these two, if you're not going Bramble or Wardens. Chain Vest upgrades into Dead Man's Plate. That's the only reason you really want to go it, unless you're just sitting on it or stacking these armor recipe items. Bramble Vest is really OP into AD threats if you need the Grievous Wound. Really nice into Soraka. And Warden Smell into like heavy on hit ADCs, kind of like for example Kog'Maw or Jinx, or anyone that's really has like lethal tempo, right? You want to sit on this usually as well. So the idea is you sit on Hex Drinker and one armor item recipe. Usually, it can be vice versa. It can be like Warden's Hex Drinker. It can be Chain Vest Hex Drinker. If you don't need MR, it can be Chain Vest Warden Smell. Chain Vest is cheaper. Then same thing with Negatron. If you don't need armor, you can go Hex Drinker and Negatron. If you need armor, no MR, and you need fucking Grievous Wound, you can go Bramble Vest into Chain Vest or Bramble Vest into Wardens. And then there's Executioners. If you don't need the armor, you prefer the AD, you can go Executioners. Good for snowballing. QSS into like Malzahar or some shit. Pretty rare, but it's nice into Malzahar, into things with CC like Thresh. But nowadays I just run Cleanse into Thresh, unless your ADC goes Cleanse. And then Stopwatch to prevent shutdown or for a big fight. So you can engage and then like goes into stasis, then E out or flash out to buy time or whatever. We already went over the tier 2 boosts. So earlier I mentioned you go Dirk into one of these items, right? So after you upgrade those components into one of these, you can upgrade your Dirk into one of these. If you're super fat, you can actually, and you don't need resistance, you can actually skip this. And you can go Eclipse into one of these items for extra snowball potential. So Umbro is really cost efficient, super cheap. Usually you want to upgrade into Umbro for the Zombie Wars synergy. Edge Knight can be pretty good if you need the spell show. However, the build path is really wonky. You pretty much delay your power spike. But if you're willing to delay your power spike for the spell show, it'll be a good power spike. It'll be delayed though, probably by like 5 minutes or so, usually. Prowler's Claw, if you're extremely fat and you want to spam kill the ADC, you E behind them, auto them with Hella Blades for a guaranteed stun if they don't have flash. Or like a movement spell. Serpents into like heavy shield comps, like Ivern, Janna, Lulu, Emilio, like a mixture of them, usually like 2 or more. It can also be used for like counter into Eclipse, Shield Bow, things like that. And then I don't recommend going these two, Axiom and Collector. They're kind of just for fun items. Super niche, but like if you're super fat, you can go these 2 items. It's whatever. It's not bad. And then items that are worth upgrading after Dirk. So remember how I said to set onto these components. Once you have like 2 or more of these, you can upgrade into Maul, Frozen Heart, Deadman's, or Turbo Chem Tank. If you have Magic Mantle. You can also go Eclipse straight into one of these if you want. Like into a Fed Jinx, for example, into a Fed Vlad, for example, into like Hecarim Trinimir, for example, into full AP, for example, if you want to engage. But normally you just want to sit on these components because they're super cheap and you can go armor and MR super early. Then for your situation items, you can upgrade your chain vest into GA. You can upgrade your broken stopwatch or stopwatch into GA. If you need penetration, armor penetration, you can go Lost Whisper. If it's super late game, you need ward, control vision, things like that. Go Watchful Wardstone. If you're super behind and you need vision on like Baron or Elder or some shit, Farsight, or if you're splitting Farsight, and then for late game, Elixir for tenacity and movement speed for your teammates as a trill, and then Elixir Wrath basically for max damage. You also get damage from Elixir of Iron, so this is usually, can't really go wrong with Iron, but if you want max damage, go Wrath. And then for your split push or your cell support item choices, you can go Tiamat. You can set your support item for Tiamat, or you can set your support item for static. Usually, if you're going static or Tiamat, you want to hold on to your support item as long as possible or use it before selling it. This is if you guys lose 5v5 and you're like top laner or whatever can't split for some reason, but you're fed enough to split and apply pressure. Pyke is pretty good at split pushing, it's really slippery. Combine this with Farsight, you're basically, you can be split pusher with these 2 items. You only really need one, but you can combine both of them if you want to. So that wraps up my mini patch 13.12 Pyke guide for support. Hope you guys enjoyed. Leave a like if you find this useful. Yep, peace out.